What is going on, guys? How y'all doing today? Rangovid's Manga 12 here, and we've got the final part to Spider-Man the Other Evolve or Die. So this is part 12. We've been reviewing this series for about 3 months now, and it has gone super quick. I mean, 3 months reviewing this series. Obviously, we had a little bit of delays in between with my university work and other comic series like Spider-Gwen and Spider-Verse and Secret Wars kicking off and all of that, but finally we're here. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Alright, so the issue picks up with Peter reminiscing about that night, the night the Other took over his body and killed Morlun, and whether Peter remembers any of this and whether he had any control over his body whatsoever. And of course Tony Stark is running the tests once again, and he actually explains that it's a little bit of a phenomenon but also a little mysterious because he's not quite sure whether Peter Parker is Peter Parker. It means he's trying to figure out whether it's an impersonator or maybe someone like the Chameleon or maybe something worse, because if you think about it, the real Peter Parker was upstairs dead, lying on some table. So who crawled out of this dead body? And that is what Tony Stark was trying to figure out. But he explained that if he was an impersonator, then he would try and fill in the gaps, like say, he wouldn't say that he couldn't remember certain things, he would straight up say, oh yes, I remember this, this and this, and yes, so it's definitely not an impersonator as of right now. Now moving on throughout the comic, we got to see Mary Jane had sewn up Spider-Man's costume, and yes, that will actually come to an end because Tony Stark actually has a little bit of a surprise for Peter, but I'll actually talk about that towards the end of the comic. But yeah, so Peter's gone to this guy called Leo, who seems to be able to, he seems a little bit like a tailor I suppose, but a tailor for maybe villains and superheroes. And I love how he has like a little bit of a timetable, like on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays it's superheroes, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays it's supervillains. I mean, that is awesome, and just to see that going down, like, it's kind of like a little secret underground business, if you get what I mean. That's just, I think that's incredible that someone would actually do that. As you can see on screen, a massive explosion goes down, an entire building, an entire block of apartments gets obliterated by what seems to be a little bit of a mistake at a construction site, and it takes out the electricity for city blocks, and Spider-Man comes to the rescue, of course without his shirt on, because Leo is actually sorting out his shirt. So yeah, Spider-Man goes in there shirtless and actually lifts this massive debris. Now, I'm not sure whether this was because of his spider powers that he could lift this, you know, like his enhanced spider powers, or whether he was already this strong in the first place. But yeah, we find out that some girl called Jennifer is actually trapped inside, and this is where Spider-Man puts his new powers to good use. This is where we figure out what Spider-Man can actually do with his new powers. It turns out he can finally see in the dark, just like a spider can. And it turns out that he's pretty much had these powers his entire life. I mean, ever since he got bit by the spider in the first place. The only reason he didn't have them before was because the first set of spider powers he kind of just accepted. He didn't dig any deeper. He didn't search for them. He didn't like try new things. He just kind of accepted the first thing that he had. So if he actually did dig deeper and kind of build upon his original spider powers, then he would have figured this out sooner. But as you can see, just like a spider can again, he can feel the vibrations through his webbing, he can feel around his environment, similar to how a snake feels the vibrations through the floor using its tongue. Like, in case you didn't know that, that's how snakes get around, and that is similar to what spiders do. So Spider-Man can now do that. He can pretty much sense his way out, sense the way through these vibrations in the webbing, and that's where we can feel rocks moving. And that of course leads us to finding this lost girl Jennifer. Now she actually has asthma, so all these dust particles in the air are actually lethal to this person, so just keep that in mind when Spider-Man is saving these. But what's also brilliant is that because of Spider-Man's enhanced powers, he can now actually put people on his back, and you know, like how he can stick to walls? Well, technically when he puts someone on his back, they will kind of stick to his back as well, I suppose. And also because of his new spider powers, he can now feel the slightest bit of wind on his fingertips, like the little hairs on his fingers can pick up the tiniest parts of the wind, and that is what he's used to get out of this building. He can sense where the nearest way out is and the direction of the exit is, and that is just brilliant, especially this shot here where Spider-Man is just stood in the middle of all of this rubble, all of this debris, with the girl saved in his arms. And overall, a very happy ending for this person and Spider-Man as well, because he's now figured out what's been going down with his spider powers. He's figured out that he can actually use these spider powers for good. Like, he can actually help people a little better. And he starts talking with Mary Jane and starts discussing why he never actually dug deeper and why he was so scared. And it was because he saw that movie ages ago where if you merge a fly with a person, then it becomes like a killer fly. Well, what would happen if you merged a human with a spider? He assumed that it would become a killer man spider, which is kind of what we saw in the 90s Spider-Man cartoon where he became a man spider. But as of this case, it didn't happen. I want to know who that spider person was that was in the last issue. I mean, yeah, sure, it was a little bit crazy, but I mean, what's that going to be doing in the future? We won't be able to find out in this issue, but at least it's good. Now, as you can see, Tony Stark was listening in on their conversation, still trying to figure out whether this was the real Spider-Man, whether this was the real Peter Parker, and now it's been confirmed that it is the real Peter Parker because of how loving and caring he is, and the way he speaks to Mary Jane is just the same way that the real Peter Parker would anyway, so it's gotta be him, it just has to be. But yeah, so as you could see at the end there, Tony Stark was actually working on a little re-birthday present for Spider-Man, well, Peter Parker. And in case you don't know, that is actually the Iron Spider costume that he's creating, which will be used in the Civil War storyline. Now, not the new Civil War that's coming up like later this year. I mean the original Civil War, which takes place after this saga. So if you guys want to know like which order the sagas go in, it actually goes Spider-Man the Other, Evolve or Die, then it goes Spider-Man Civil War, then after that it is Spider-Man Back in Black, and then after that it is Spider-Man One More Day, and then of course he makes the deal with Mephisto, and then it all goes back in time and everything gets changed, and well, not back in time, but everything gets changed basically. Now, I've reviewed all of those sagas, so if you want to go check those out, then just go to the playlist section of my YouTube channel, because I actually have them in playlists. The only thing that I haven't reviewed is the Civil War saga, which I may be doing in the future, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, guys, that is the end of this video, so I'm going to give this issue an 8 out of 10, just because of the art. We went back to the original Amazing Spider-Man art that was in the original Amazing Spider-Man series, which was nice to see. And of course, we found out a little bit more about Spider-Man's new powers, and just the story overall was brilliant. So yeah, 8 out of 10. Guys, make sure you hit the like button on this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, go to the link in the description to my Facebook page, because I always preview comics early before they release. So if you want to see early comic previews, then go over there, check those out. Also follow me on Twitter by going to the link in the description. And guys, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I will see you guys in my next video.